Ready to elevate your credit understanding and score? With insider tips and a plan, you can take action to improving your score, which can save thousands in unnecessary finance charges. Let's tackle today's topic with your coach, Credit Christy.
Hey friends, it's Christy, your credit coach. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. Today, let's talk about collections. I'm seeing a lot of new collections on people's credit reports, and if this is becoming a trend, well, we need to talk about it. So in April of 2023, there was a change to how credit reporting bureaus could report medical collections. So a wonderful thing happened, and medical collections that have less than a $500 balance are removed from reporting on credit reports. And this isn't just for those moving forward with a less than $500 balance, but anything that's been on your credit report. Now, this only pertains to medical, but what's super cool about this is the credit reporting bureaus didn't really have a way of differentiating between medical collections and a different kind of collection. So let's break that down for a second. A lot of times a medical collection is due to insurance not covering some costs, a surprise letter from a doctor's office, an anesthesiologist, something along those lines, and you just simply don't have that money available to pay that bill. It's often unexpected and unaccounted for. Like, why do we have insurance, right? But the crazy thing is that the credit reporting bureaus didn't really have a great way of differentiating a medical collection from any other kind of collection. So what other kind of collection might be out there? If you didn't pay a credit card bill or didn't make payments on a loan that you had an agreement on and didn't fulfill that agreement. A collection reporting is supposed to notify other potential creditors of a mismanagement of money. So if you stopped paying on that credit card and now it has become a collection, typically it becomes a collection 120 days after you missed your payment, then yes, that's a mismanagement of money, right? You put money on a credit card, you didn't pay it back as agreed. But medical collections are so very different. It's not a mismanagement of money, in my opinion. And so I'm so grateful that those smaller bills, that 500 and under, can no longer show up on your credit report for 7 years, by the way, which is how long collections can report. And the other crazy thing is a lot of collection companies, if they cannot collect from you, will sell that debt to another collection company and not necessarily close out theirs. So now this one trade line, this one collection could report as multiple. So let's talk about non-medical collections for a moment. If you don't pay something as agreed, it starts showing as late payments. And the later they become, the more severe the hit is to your credit profile and your credit scores. In other words, if you have a one-time 30-day late, it's not as severe to your credit profile as a 30-day late, a 60-day late, and now a 90-day late. Once something is 120 days late, like a credit card, it typically winds up getting sent off to a collection agency. So now you have these late payments with your credit card, and now you have this new collection. And collections show up in a different category on your credit report under derogatory events. Sometimes it's listed collections, sometimes it's listed as derogatory. Either way, it's a negative mark. Those collections can report for 7 years, and same with those late payments. And the crazy thing about collections is whether it's a $10 balance that you didn't pay off to that credit card, or it's a $10,000 balance that the collection is for, the way that the credit reporting bureaus calculate that collection is exactly the same. A collection is a collection is a collection. Now, here's where it gets really tricky. When that collection becomes a charge-off, which is what a lot of collection agencies do when it comes to credit cards, when it becomes a charge-off, you might think that, oh, cool, they wrote it off, I can just ignore it. Well, the opposite is actually happening. That charge-off is still listed under that derogatory section or collections. However, it's usually showing up as a revolving, which is what your credit card is. There's only a revolving or an installment. Installment is like auto loans, mortgage, those kinds of things. And revolving is typically a credit card or a home equity line of credit. It shows up revolving, but friends, here's the difference. You have zero limit because that card is closed, but you have an outstanding balance. And so that debt utilization gets hammered as well. So what do you do about collections? My suggestion is if it's a newer collection, see if you can remedy that immediately. See if you can get on a repayment schedule or if they'll settle for less than what's owed, whether it's a medical or non-medical. When it comes to financing for your mortgage, if you have a total amount of non-medical collections that is greater than $2,000, then one of two things has to happen. You have to pay it down or pay it off, or we have to hold 5% of that outstanding balance against you. So let's use an example. Let's say you have a $3,000 credit card balance that goes into collection. They'll probably add some fees onto it, but let's just say for the purpose of this example, it's $3,000 as a credit card collection. We would have to hold 5% as a payment against you for loan approval, which means we would have to pretend that you have a $150 payment going towards that collection. And that gets added into your debt to income ratio. It could mean the difference between approval or not, or it could knock down your approval amount to a lower amount because of that debt ratio. So overall, it's not a great thing to have. And collections signify that you're not managing your money well. And very few people who are going to be extending you a new line of credit wants to see a mismanagement of your money. So basically, future decision makers are looking at your past payment history as an example. Can you borrow money and pay it back on time as agreed? Basically, if you can do that with the small things like small loans and credit cards, you can do that with the big things like your mortgage payment. So keep that in mind if you have a new collection that hits your credit report, because a lot of things are going to happen here. Your credit profile gets squashed, your score gets hurt, and you have a new derogatory account listed, which could impact future approval for the things that are really important to you. Now, if you have an old collection, sometimes paying that off or paying that up can actually hurt your credit score in the short term. So if you are applying for a loan, please talk to your loan officer about what to do about what's being reported, because in the short term, it could potentially damage your credit score just a little bit, because what's happening is you're reinstating something that's called a date of last activity. The older that is for collections, the less it hurts your credit score. And when you reignite that, you're kind of like scratching a scab off of a wound and reopening that up. Sorry for the disgusting analogy. I know there are plenty of people considering a credit repair company to just make something go away. And I agree that a company such as that can help you if there is incorrect information being reported on your credit report. Certainly get that cleaned up. We don't want anything that's incorrect to be reporting. And unfortunately, there's a lot of incorrect information that gets reported on your credit report. However, if it is your debt, I would encourage you to take responsibility, see if you can't work out some kind of repayment or settlement and make it right with that creditor. When decision makers such as underwriters for a mortgage loan are looking at your entire picture, it does look better that you have a paid and closed collection rather than an open, outstanding collection. And of course, the older it is, the better it is. But sometimes collections can reflect a negative attitude towards money, and we don't want to show up that way. So just wanted to share a quick overview about collections, how it affects your credit score, and what to do about it. And if you see any small medical collections, so small being under the amount of $500, you can call that collection agency and let them know they are not following the new regulations and laws, and that needs to be removed. Hey, if you have any questions, reach out to me at questions@creditchristie.com. And until next time, my friends, stay well.